Okay, great. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit about how to help a learner get into the trades. We have Jocelyn here from Beaver County, who actually has a real learner who's interested in getting into the trades. So I'll quickly stop talking because also we've got Leah, who's really experienced with helping learners get into the trades. So these two are going to have a conversation, and Leah's going to tell us basically how to help learners get into the trades. But maybe Jocelyn, open it up and just give us a bit of background about your learner.
Yeah, so our learner reached out to us. He was part of a colony, a Hutterite colony. He decided to leave the colony. They only ever went as high as having their grade 10, sometimes not even fully having their grade 10, just their grade 9s. So he came to us just asking for some help. When I asked him, I'm like, okay, what are you doing right now? He works on a farm, so he's a farm laborer, but he wants to, one sec. Sorry. Sorry, I got another
All good,
thing
all
there.
good.
So he wants to essentially work as a mechanic, a heavy duty mechanic, not really an auto mechanic, but a heavy duty mechanic. So he went to Viking and talked to some of the shops there, and they said, yeah, for sure, like we would love to have you work with us, but they want him to have some sort of schooling or have some sort of education, something before he does start, which I understand makes sense. So currently right now, we did an initial assessment. So we did a math assessment on him, and he actually did quite well. He stumbled with fractions, which I think 95% of the learners that come to us, they're always stuck on fractions.
Yeah.
So he was stuck on fractions. And then from there, we were like, I talked to him. I'm like, okay, what is like your end goal? And I told him about the entrance exam, how he could challenge it. He doesn't necessarily need his GED. But then I also said, I think it would be best if you did get your GED. It would just open a lot more doors up for you. And then from there, once you have your GED, some programs want you to have your GED. Like I think it was Lakeland, they want you to have your GED as well as the entrance exam. Well, I think Olds College only needs you to have your entrance exam and grade 10 math, science, and reading. So a lot of the programs are different, but then this way, if he has it all, he'll have a lot more, I guess, doors will be open. My thing is, I want him, he's super eager. He's exceeding, like, far exceeding anyone's expectations, his own expectations. He's passing through the modules with flying colors. So I kind of want to get him rocking and rolling so he can start school potentially in the summer. Like, I know that's a little bit of a stretch, but just the process. Okay, so he does his GED, passes his test, or he only does 3, then he has to do some of the cakes. And then he does his entrance exam, and then how is that entrance exam, like how does he get it essentially on his record, so when he does apply to Olds or Nate or wherever, that it shows. Like that's where I'm just a little confused as to what the next steps are. Like he meets every Thursday with a tutor, they do all the math modules, like he's passing all of them, but it's just like the next steps.
Okay, so I guess the confusion on my part is when a person wants to become a tradesperson, they need one of those two things. They don't need more, and they don't need, they actually can begin a trade and they have 1 year to get those things from the start of being,
and those things,
so they
sorry,
could actually
Leah,
be hired and indentured as a heavy duty mechanic without those requirements. I'm a little confused. Sorry, Phil, let me finish first.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused as to why Lakeland or Olds would have more requirements. He's typically a tradesperson will get an employer, they'll work for their hours, and then they'll be laid off. And then they go and do their technical training, and they can choose where to go for their technical training. And then the offerings for technical training vary from institution to institution. So for him to get an AIT account and to begin the process of getting a blue book and having his hours recorded, he needs an employer for that, really. He can actually do it without an employer and go to school first. So they've changed that since COVID. whereas before you had to have your hours before going to school. But I'm not really sure why those institutions, like they might recommend that he has grade 10, but I don't really see how they can make that a requirement. And I see no point whatsoever at having both GED and entrance exam. If he's got GED, like he's covered.
Okay.
That is above and beyond what the entrance exam is asking him for. So if he wants to complete his GED, I say for sure. If he wants to get the process going faster and have a little bit more time to finish his GED, then I would recommend he take that entrance exam. It's free. He can give it a go. And at least now get himself an AIT account, which costs nothing. The only time it costs $25 is when he has to actually apply to be an apprentice. And that's when he has an employer and all of those things. So there's a small fee then, but to set up that entrance exam and get himself started on their website, there's no cost for the initial setting up of an AIT number. That's what he needs in order to book an exam. Yeah.
Okay. So AIT account. And then from there, then he can book his entrance exam, and then it'll show on his account. And then should he apply for school or whatever, he'll have that.
Yeah. And when he applies for an AIT account and when he goes in for the entrance exam, it actually asks him for his level of education. So if he's working towards his GED and you're saying he's going to pass, like he's going through everything, he can check that. So that's on his record, so that they know that he has that amount of education. He can still take the entrance exam. They don't really monitor, like even if you have a university degree and you want to take it. I mean, I took it twice, so they didn't really catch me.
Yeah.
I took it because I wanted to know what my students would be facing, right? And so I was able to take it twice. I took 2 different exams. So he would be looking at that level 4 exam for heavy duty mechanic.
Okay.
And so the breakdown there is in the study guide, and he could go through that study guide. And if he can do that study guide, he can pass that exam. You know, it's very, very similar to the kinds of questions he will face.
Okay. Okay. And if
overall,
the exam, sorry, you go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, and just overall, he could either get his JED or his trades entrance. Like you're saying, Leah, the trades entrance is free, so he could just go try that.
Yeah, and I do think the JED is the way to go if he's already started it. And I mean, there's no pressure for him to get the entrance exam, but I mean, he could have both. And if one of those institutions is saying we want you to have both, then he's got them. But the entrance exam should be simple if he can do the math in the JED. The thing about the science in the JED is it's all reading comprehension. It's not really science.
It's not really science, no.
So he does need to know some science. So a brush up with that entrance exam study guide would be helpful to him for sure.
Okay.
So, and there's no risk to him, right? So he could go and take it, and it's a 70% pass. I would assume that he would pass first try, but even if he didn't, he would know exactly how he did and know what he needed to brush up on before going back and taking it again. But yeah, if he has, it sounds like, you know, the assumption from my end is he's coming from a colony where he's done a lot of work with his hands his whole life. And so the aptitude is there, and the heavy duty mechanic would be a perfect fit for him. So there's not a lot holding him back from being employed. And I don't think he needs to be in a rush to go to school. I think if it were me advising him, I would advise him to go through the process with the government, get his AIT number, get an employer who's willing to teach him and sign off on his hours, work, make money, get laid off, go to school, apply for grants to pay for school, get EI to pay for school. I wouldn't do it the other way. Sometimes kids that come out of high school, they have parents that are willing to pay for their technical training first so that they get that kind of post-secondary experience. But if they don't have any real life experience, that's not really the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
So that's what I would advise for him.
Okay. Yeah, because he's worked on a farm for his whole life. Like he's 28. He's like, I just want to have, essentially, he's like, I just want to have something to show. I just want to do something different other than watch cows all day. And like, he's like, I fix the trucks and trailers and whatever out here. But he's like, he just wants to kind of step away from that, but he still likes working with his hands and doing that kind of stuff. So he just is looking for that little bit extra to make him feel like, he basically said like feel a little bit more accomplished so he can have something to work up to. And he does enjoy the learning part of it, which is really good. So it's just getting him there and like what the next step. And he has a lot of like there's a lot of shops in Viking that they said would take him on. So I'm gonna meet with him hopefully this Thursday or next and just see if he can get on there, start working on the entrance exam. And he's super gung ho. So if I tell him, like I've told him that this is a possibility before, he's like, well, I'll just do the entrance exam, start working, start going to school, and then finish my GED. But my thing is, I was like, it would be also good for him to get his GED because say he wants to go into engineering or he wants to do something else, at least if he's already working towards it, you may as well finish it. That's my opinion. Finish it, have it, get it done, and then go from there.
And he'll be in kind of
I
an
would agree.
academic road. Basically, if he's studying for the trades entrance, he's studying for the JET, it'll really put him in that academic mindset for when he does go to NATE and stuff and finish off his training.
Yeah.
So it'll be a really good thing to throw in. It sounds like the work ethic, as Leah said, he's growing up on a Hutterite colony, so he's got the aptitude is there. So it's just okay. Let's throw this little academic piece in. And like you said, he's been crushing those modules, our foundational numeracy modules. So yeah, he's already very close, really.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's like this close, and even his reading comprehension and science and stuff. Like when he does do his JED, like we're gonna have to kind of pause on the math because that's what we're focusing on is more numeracy. Pause on the math and just say, okay, I know this isn't going to be the funnest, but you still need to do some reading comprehension, essay writing, science, like that is part of it. Those are elements to get it. But if he can do his entrance exam and go from there, I think that would be a really good step. So
yeah, and I would talk to him about it that way, that when he gets his JED, he has something that is transferable to other areas. And you're absolutely right, Phil. The danger of just squeaking by on the entrance exam is that you're not in a good position when you do go to technical training. We're talking about an 8-week condensed, academic. It's like they do hands-on at NATE or wherever they go as well, but they have to learn a lot of content and study that. They need those skills. They need good reading skills, right? They need to be able to learn quickly. Otherwise, they're going to fail. And then they're right back. And the other advantage for him to get kind of that education and do things, since he's already started to get it done with, is that if he goes right now without what he really needs and gets hired by these guys, he's only going to be hired as a laborer. They're never going to have to pay him more because he doesn't have the credential to even really start as an apprentice. I know there's kind of like, there's ways around that. Some employers are just going to pay him what they know is fair, but not everybody would. And they don't have to because he doesn't have what he needs to be classified as a first-year apprentice. And so he should be paid appropriately for the work he's doing, and he should have the opportunity for growth. He should be able to get a raise after that first year, second year, third year, and become a journey person, Red Seal. Who knows, right? Where that could take him. There's so many opportunities now for journey people to get degrees or do other things once they have that credential. So yeah, I would say if he does the entrance exam, it might just be for him to get some experience.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say he should do that in replacement of the JED if he's already come so far doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the entrance exam, You can do it online or in person, right?
No, it has to be
All
in person.
in person. Okay.
And
Okay.
Calgary and Edmonton, I think, are the only two sites where they can write it.
Okay. We're like
I
45 minutes an hour from Edmonton, so that's okay.
Yeah. And they do have many sittings and they do give the results almost immediately, but it is an in-person exam
Okay.
and they have to have the AIT account. They have to book that exam. It's written actually beside Nate in the AIT building.
Okay.
And they don't bring a calculator or anything. They just bring their ID.
Okay.
And they get provided with a calculator and pencils and it's like
Okay.
old school, strict.
Okay.
And it's
Because I
100
looked.
questions, multiple choice.
Okay.
The breakdown for math science reading is based on cluster. So heavy duty is 4. So I can't remember exactly, but you'd be looking at like 35 math questions, 36 science questions, and something like that. The English is the least of the concern typically. And there's not a ton you can do to prepare their readings on anything, and the questions are pretty bad.
I
But
was looking at the
Okay.
study, like the study guide, and like they had like a practice test for it. So
yeah, yeah,
I'll make sure I get that printed off so he can go over it.
yeah, yeah.
Perfect. This has been, yeah, okay.
Now, can I just ask about the AIT account? Because that's obviously one of his priorities. Is that through trade secrets where an individual? So just
Yeah.
we don't need to see all the steps, but I'll just quickly share that screen just so we can all see it. So ultimately, for anybody really serious about getting into the trades, this is one of the key steps that they need to do is to get an AIT account. And the big overall is it's fairly straightforward on this site, I assume, to make one, right, Leah?
Yeah, I mean, where you go, they change their site a little bit all the time, so it looks actually a little different than, but if you click on that Get Started link near under the Alberta government,
Yeah,
yeah, should be, so this Apply Now button, like they have
yeah,
so much good information on the site,
yeah.
but yeah, so he would be a new applicant,
Okay, yeah. Oops.
and so he would go ahead and fill in the forms.
Okay,
He needs the Maddie account, so there it goes. So that's the My Alberta Digital ID. You can't do
okay.
anything
Yeah,
these days without that.
I
So
know.
fair enough.
that's actually the hardest part of the whole thing is making sure that they have the My Alberta Digital ID username and password. So if he doesn't have that, that's the first step because you have to go through that and then they have to send by mail the verification for that.
Exactly. There's a
So that
process
actually
for that.
takes the time, but the
Okay.
trade secrets doesn't take much time once you have that.
Yep.
He goes through, creates the account, and then after that, I don't know if you can go back, Phil, but after that, and I do have handouts, so I can send you both, or Phil, I can send you, I
Yeah.
made a couple like visual kind of
Awesome.
handouts.
That'd be great.
So then that existing clients,
Yeah.
um, so new applications, I can't remember now.
It's okay. Like I
Oh
think
no,
the
that's
overall.
that's
Oh,
if you've started something and you've gone out.
okay.
But otherwise he can, after he's got the account, he can log in. And
Yeah.
then from there, I do have a handout where you choose the prior learning assessment.
Yeah.
So he can choose the entrance exam as prior learning assessment. And then
Excellent.
from there, that's when he can do the booking. At any point, once he has an AIT number, if he's stuck or anybody's stuck, you can call them
Yep.
and then they can book him. But of course, they prefer everything to be done online. It's pretty simple. We always help our students set up an account and then book the exam. We do it a little differently because we block book, so we have a date ahead of time.
Right.
But
You've got a
it's
whole group.
basically the
Yep.
same for
Same
anybody.
process.
Yeah.
And so again, the big overall, they're the trade secret website. We just need to get an AIT number, which again, there's details, but the Alberta MATI account is critical to that.
Yeah.
And we've got the trades entrance exam, which our trades entrance exam study guide, which you can just find this on Google, and it's fairly easy to get a hold of. And I wanted to maybe share one last screen that I put together, that basically for learners interested in the trades, this might be a good path. First find a related job. Secondly, get your AIT number so that these are some of the pathways into trades. You've either completed high school, or you complete JED, or you complete the trades entrance exam.
Yep.
You don't necessarily have to do, say, all of those things, for example, but sometimes it's good, as Jocelyn pointed out, that potentially some of the institutions might be looking for both. Download the
But
trades
I do
engines.
I find that really weird, because they
Yeah.
really, if the government of Alberta, and they say clearly on that one page, you've got background, the colored minimum requirements,
Right here, yeah.
they've got those or, right? And so I don't really think that they can ask for more. They might recommend more. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, be interesting.
maybe the institutions can. I have not.
I'm
Not
just trying to
seen
see if
that
I can
before.
pull it up,
Yeah.
because I know it was.
Fair enough. I wondered possibly if that institution is just saying, maybe we're going to get better success with our students if they, if they come in and at minimum have JED, have the entrance exam. Just a guess on my part, why those
Or they're
institutions
doing some of the technical training now, like NATE has now all the technical training up front. So like baking and pastry arts, it's double or more the cost of a traditional apprenticeship, but
Right.
you can do all your technical training up front. They have different requirements for that program, you
Right.
see, and that may be what's happening with Lakeland and Olds. And same with NATE, they've got now the auto service tech.
Yep.
They've got the like 1 year program. So the students come in and they get all their technical training up front and a tiny bit of work experience hours.
Right.
So they pay way more for that. They can set forth their own entrance requirements then. So students pay tons more. It actually takes them longer. In the end, it takes them
Interesting.
longer to become a journey person doing it that way. People don't really know that, or the students want that post-secondary experience. They want
Sure.
to say that they went to NATE for a year and they got their certificate, but really all it is all the technical training ahead of time. They still have to fulfill all those hours to become a journey person. They have to. There's no getting around it. So that's probably what it is. I'm guessing, Jocelyn, is it's a longer program.
Like I've looked at quite a few, because I guess back even when I was in school, the reason I know quite a bit of this is my brother is a heavy duty mechanic, and he has a shop and he has tons of apprentices and all that stuff. So it was easy for me to kind of understand what he needed and what he wanted.
Yep.
So when I was looking, there's like pre-employment plumbing or pre-employment electrician, but then there's also a heavy duty technician, but then there's also mechanic. Like there's so many little ones that you can essentially go into, and they all have different requirements. Like one of them, it's like your GED or your entrance exam or your math 20. So it's like you have to have one of those. But then some of them is like you need your chem 30, you need your physics 30, and it's like what? So they're quite different. Like each of them are different depending on what school you go to, which kind of mechanic you want to be, whether it's pre-employment or just your first year. So, and just something really quick, is the entrance exam and the study guide separate? Like, is there a study guide that's separate than the entrance exam? Like, Phil, is that kind of what you were saying? Because I saw that one that you have pulled up, but just in case he wants to keep trying and trying and trying, like different study guides or different entrance exams, like practice ones, just
that
one.
And so the
That's
one
it.
option would be our course, I guess, as
Okay.
well, on top
Yeah.
of
Okay.
on top of the study guide. And so that's what
Okay.
I've kind of put in this sort of recommendation, if you like, for any learner interested in the trades, that you find a job, you get your AIT number. Again, we can provide handouts on that, but it is relatively straightforward on the site. Make sure you have your high school, your JED or trades entrance. Download the trades entrance exam study guide and start, working through it at least an hour a night. And if you need help, contact your local CALP, as that's what your program there, Jocelyn, is a local community adult learning.
Yeah.
And then if you require further tutoring and a structured program, you could take Norquest Online Trades Entrance Exam Prep course. There's usually funding for the course, and again, inquire at the local CALP. So yeah, this is, I think, been a very effective summary of what if we have a CALP and a student both interested in, okay, how do we get going on the trades? This has covered that. Any last thoughts, Jocelyn, from your side?
No, this has been super helpful because, especially being so rural, a lot of the learners that we have, aside from like newcomers and English language learners, are people who want to get into the trades. They don't really know how, or a lot of them are like older and they want to get working. But a lot of the time nowadays, I find these shops or wherever, you could have 20 years experience, but if you don't have the piece of paper, they won't really give you a chance. It's not all like that, but I'm just finding there are a lot of places like that. So whether it be mechanic or electrician, we're so short in the trades. So I think with Beaver County CALP, I really just want to put that out there that there is the option to do this if you don't have any schooling, whatever it may be. So just really trying to promote that is what I want to do. Because
Awesome.
we need trades, we need healthcare, we need all that stuff. So
Yep.
kind of shift the mindset of CALP, like, yeah, let's learn, that's great, but like, what is your end goal? How can
What
we
is
get
your
you
end goal?
there?
And this is an actual pathway, and that is really, really critical that we provide direct and clear pathways for
100%.
learners. So this has been awesome. Leah, any last minutes thoughts or things to end on, perhaps?
Yeah, I guess that the last thing for me would be that I think it is good that you look at the learner and what they are coming with and what pathway works best for them. Where the upfront technical training programs serve a certain group of people, i.e., typically kids coming straight out of high school, I don't see that as the best pathway for this particular person. It's more expensive. He's got experience already. I don't really see it as being the way to go. That being said, sometimes the timing of technical training or the distance having to travel is not worth it. And it's, so it does depend. But I guess when you're meeting with people in your community who are interested in trades, really letting them know that how trades can work. And it's great that you have a brother that you know how it works, because it's different than just your traditional post-secondary, right? So sometimes that's the challenge, is helping people understand how it's going to go and what they need to do to progress in their trades. So
Excellent. Well, great. We'll really appreciate it. I'll stop the recording right now. And again, I really appreciate